they're kind of like a technician, like the guy at the Genius Bar knows, whoa, this does this and this does this, and they know what to look for and they know how to fix it. Well, an alchemist is like that.
Welcome to the Orykl Podcast, where spirituality, inspiration, and education come together. We have 3 playlists. In Spiritual Stories, we explore profound moments in personal spiritual journeys. In Spiritual Entrepreneurship, we share insights to help spiritual practitioners and their businesses thrive. And in Spiritual Leadership, I offer my perspective on leading with authenticity and heart. Welcome everyone to the Orykl Podcast Spiritual Stories. I'm joined by Dominique Mali. She's an energy healer. She's also one of Orykl's-vetted channelers, and I'm excited to hear her story. Welcome, Dominique.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dominique, for those that don't know you, can you tell us a bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, I'm an alchemist. So alchemy is precision energy work. It's where you go very specifically into identifying what are the precise blockages that are creating the unwanted situation, whatever it is, and then you dissolve them using your consciousness.
Yes, and you refer to yourself as an alchemist. Explain what an alchemist is in your words.
I guess traditionally, on the surface, alchemists were transforming base metal into gold, but it's really a metaphor for base consciousness into awakened consciousness. So it's really about raising frequency. So whenever a client comes with whatever situation, whether it's a health blockage or blockage around money or blockage around relationship or homework, whatever it is, fundamentally, there are a whole set of energies that contribute like the back end of a computer. So what's going on the back end of this frontline situation? So an alchemist can identify they're kind of like a technician, like the guy at the Genius Bar knows, whoa, this does this and this does this, and they know what to look for and they know how to fix it. Well, an alchemist is like that. It's like I know what to look for. I do some testing around it and then I correct it and I remove lower frequency energies, maybe ancestral blockages, past life blockages, karma, and then I raise the frequency of your consciousness in alignment with what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. And can you tell us how that happens? I mean, I know that not everybody can do it or not everybody is trained to do it, but how exactly does that happen?
I mean, to be honest, everybody can do it because we have consciousness and everything is consciousness. We're just not trained to. But if we went to alchemy school, we would learn how to do this. So it's really through intention. Consciousness is just waves of possibility. And when you observe it in a certain way, it sort of coalesces into what you are visualizing. So you're working in a quantum way with the basic nature of consciousness, and you just practice it until you become confident and you test it out. So I'm trying to do this, and I maybe work with a pendulum to verify my results and see, okay, I'm trying to do this. Did it do it? And I run a school, an alchemy school called the New Earth Alchemy Academy, where I train people. We go into our consciousness and we look at the blockages and what are the different elements and how intense are they, and we dissolve them and then we verify. And then when you do this enough, you build up your confidence. So it's a training basically.
And you say everybody can do it. Do you think that some people are more prone to it, or who are the people that would be good candidates to learn this skill?
For sure. There are some people who are more earth people who are really good with the land, and there are people who are more artistic. And definitely light workers and star seeds are the natural alchemists because they have natural resonance with energy work and they will understand those concepts and they'll get it more easily.
Yeah. Okay, so take us back to before you started doing energy work. Who were you before you got onto this path?
I was born in Canada and I was a musician for a long time. And then I moved to England and actually I did some light body work. And the results of the light body work was that I decided to just quit the music after years of that being my passion. I just let it go overnight. And I took a reflexology course really just to keep myself busy. And on that course, a woman came to me and gave me this book. And it was a very little known book called The Metamorphic Technique. And the metamorphic technique is a hands-on practice where you're touching the feet and the hands and head on points that correspond to our time in the womb. And what it does is it kind of triggers our life force to evolve us. But the whole teaching is very esoteric. So I read this book and I was like, wow, I really resonate with this. And I went online to search for where there would be a course to learn it. And it was just down the road, an hour from me in South London. And the teacher was from Quebec, which is where I'm from. So he ended up mentoring me for many years, and I ended up teaching metamorphic technique all around the world for a decade. And then it was during that time, that process of understanding that who we are is made up of different patterns and what are the different sources of patterns, like what I mentioned, ancestral past life, karma, parallel realities, and other sources. As I started piecing this way of understanding reality together, I had a kind of a download about a new way of working. And it was in collaboration with another practitioner who was kinesiologist. So we would meditate and get these insights. And when the insights came through, and generally they were things that were well beyond anything that was in our reality, it was like, oh, if you do this, you can shift this and that. And so we'd come out of the meditation and say, well, I got this. What did you get? And then we would muscle test to verify if this was true or if it was just our mind making it up. So we kept on aligning to truth. And what we discovered was that it was always true, or 99% true, and not just imagination. And so we created the system over 5 years. And then I moved to Portugal and continued on my own.
And I think I remember once upon a time you told me that it came from a particular source. Do you know where it's coming from? Is it coming from a different consciousness? Whose consciousness, if so? Or is it coming from all over? Or just your higher self?
So, what my friend Ella Owen and I remembered is that we had worked in previous lives as alchemists. We had trained in mystery schools. And we had been kind of mid level, and that in this lifetime, we were coming back in to attain mastery, to take the work further. So, when I'm working, I work with specific teams that are like off world teams, energetic teams that have different bits of information and different technologies for me. And some of them are helping more with the body, and some of them are helping more with collective healing and so on.
So you said that you were in music and then you changed to the spiritual path. Like, was there a moment that you realized, oh, this is not for me, or something happened? Like, what was it exactly that made you swap from music to being a spiritual healer?
I think the two coexisted for a long time. So when I was 19, I was reading the Seth books written by Jane Roberts. These are very, very deep books with a lot of information. So from a very early age, I was opening up to those concepts and that way of
Yeah.
interfacing and perceiving reality, parallel realities, choosing your birth, choosing your death, choosing your parents, weather being an expression of the collective consciousness. A lot of fascinating concepts in those books. But music was how I wanted to use my creativity. Actually, there was a point where I was going for sessions and all the healers were like, "So when are you going to start working as a healer?" And I was like, no, I want to do the music. But that they had said that to me for some years before I actually made the shift. But I think that's for me, the way I'm working alchemically. I know that some people can be very young and really brilliant, but for me, I needed to live through a lot of things, to go through a lot of personal challenges, and to use my consciousness to overcome the challenges so that I can work in the way that I do, which is teaching people to work in a very practical way. So you're using high-end consciousness technologies, but you're working to enhance your life, to upgrade your life. So it's very grounded. It's very high, but it's very grounded.
And so, where do you see this path going? Do you see it evolving further? And if so, into what?
Well, I mean, the teaching is one thing, and I'm going to be publishing a book called Everyday Alchemy soon. So that's in process. And yeah, there's more technology coming through, global healings and so on. So it's really just about supporting humanity to access this part of themselves, really, to realize that their consciousness is it's like a supercomputer. You can do so much with it. And we've
Yeah.
been living in the matrix and we've been trained to not use it at all. And so it's about stepping out of that old system and into a new system, like the new earth, where we can use our consciousness to program our space, to heal our body, to rejuvenate our body, to change the way we age, to change our relationship to money, to up level our business, change the frequency of our business. Like there's just so much you can do.
And it's such an exciting time to be living in right now because I feel like we are only now really starting to understanding. It's going more into the mainstream. People are starting to implement it. And I also think it's with the implementation and the seeing of the results that it's really going to take traction, right?
Mm.
I think for me in my own life, for example, as I use a lot of these principles and I see that my life changes, then you get the proof and you're like, okay, let me
Yes. So
go and try a little bit more and a little bit more. And I feel like we're, as human beings, we're pretty much just started on this journey of understanding and consciousness and how it works. So it's exciting, right?
it is exciting. I mean, like the book Creative Visualization was a big book for people because it was like you can use your consciousness to visualize things creatively and to manifest them. So that was a big moment for people. And,
Which book?
the Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. Do you know that one?
No, I don't touch it.
Oh, very, very simple, but
Is
very
it?
potential. Yeah.
Are there any mystical experiences that you've had that kind of stick with you that you can share?
When I moved to Portugal, I was in a giant wildfire. And after that, I went to India. And this was the sort of the level two of my big alchemical exploration. And I was in a shop, and this man said, would you like a stone? And I chose this big tiger's eye. And I had this sense that I could use it to amplify any manifestations. And before I knew it, I started buying lots of crystals and creating this crystal grid. And it was a multidimensional grid representing all the different levels of the universe and the angelic dimension, the divine masculine and feminine. And this pyramid appeared to me. And every day I would go in and meditate. And when I would go in and meditate, certain teams would appear to me and initiate me. So at one point, I remember the Isis priestesses said, you need to bathe yourself in milk for 3 days. And I'm vegan, so I had to go and find some milk and then bathe myself for 3 days. And so it was a really deep process of initiation where I was discovering new technologies and I was doing a lot of healing on my own energy matrix. So I would say that that was the most, I mean, there have been other things, but in terms of a significant experience, which was long term, ongoing, went on for years, it was almost like it was bringing me back to the mystery schools that I had been in past lives and saying, actually, in this life, this is what you're meant to do. And so, we've put you in the path of this fire to shake you up enough that you go, why did I do that to myself? And that you go into this pyramid and go through all of these processes.
And you're doing this on your own, right? You're having this experience, this meditation. Like, do you ever doubt yourself, even today, I suppose? Do you doubt yourself as you're going through this and you're having these experiences? And do you think, is this really real? Is this message really for me? Like, that happens to me sometimes. I get a lot of information, but at the back of your mind, you're like, well, I don't know. How do you deal with that?
So for me now, it's been about 16 years of working alchemically. So basically, I know it and I feel it. But occasionally something comes through and I'm like, really, really? Can it be that easy? Have I really changed my relationship to time? Have I really stepped out of the matrix? And so I use a pendulum to verify that. And sometimes if it's something really kind of far out, I might have a friend verify for me and test equally with a pendulum. And it is always correct. I mean,
Amazing.
occasionally you can be a little bit off if you're not centered, but generally, and when I used to run workshops with my colleague, Ella Owen, we used to ask our students to tune into your spirit team, tune in for a message. And then they got in the habit of wanting us to verify with the muscle testing for them. So they say, can you, this is the message I got. Can you verify? And we'd verify for them. And it was always correct. So over the years, that reinforced to me that my inner guidance is on point 99% of the time, can be off occasionally, like anybody, but and that with clients as well, their inner guidance is also generally correct. Like you can trust yourself.
How do you do that? How do you make sure that it is correct? I mean, it can't be correct for everybody all the time. Some people get it wrong. So what do you do that your information is correct and you can test it and, you can verify it? Like, how do you do it?
I work with a pendulum. So when I'm working and giving a client a session or working with my classes, I will verify. And it will tell me occasionally, I'll be like, oh, is it this? And it'll be like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, all right, that was just wishful thinking maybe, or that was imagination rather than a pure change.
Yeah. I noticed that you wrote on your profile on Orykl that freedom was your most valued value. Why is that? And what does freedom mean to you?
I mean, it's just freedom to just be yourself, to live freely, to express yourself, to explore your life, to not be interfered with in any way, free to be unlimited, free to grow, free to explore myself and expand and discover who I can be and what I can offer to life. And I guess for clients as well, that is what I want to bring for them, is that they be free to just to be themselves and to experience as much of what they choose to experience as they, as they want. As much love, as much freedom, as much travel, as much abundance, as much creativity.
So what do you think blocks people from feeling that freedom?
Matrix, the old system, all the conditioning, the educational system, all the ancestral trauma that we carry, all the past life stuff that is unhealed and that comes back into our life, that we agree to take it on, to explore it again so that we can heal it. That can limit our freedom. Karma. So if we've had a certain dynamic with someone or some organization in a past life, which was perhaps we don't have perspective on, we may need to live the other side, for example, or live a certain challenge so that we can get a wider perspective on what went on in that life. All sorts of things that can limit freedom, as well as sort of interference from certain energies that are not positive. It's good to be able to discern if there's any sort of interference. The other day, I went to Lidl and I bought some groceries. And I came back and I was exhausted and I ate a huge bar of chocolate, which was a lot of chocolate to eat. And then a friend gave me a session. And at the end of the session, she said, is Dominique the only person in her energy field? It was like, no, there's 5 entities there. And I'm like, wow, okay. That's why I was feeling so exhausted. And that's why I gobbled that chocolate down, which normally I wouldn't eat a whole huge bar of chocolate like that. So you can pick up energies just in the grocery store, because that really is going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your actions. So a little bit of energy hygiene is actually a really good practice to learn.
In 2009, when my brother passed away, I used to meditate a lot before he passed away and after he passed away. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but after he passed away, every time I meditated, my head would just turn to the right. And it was the weirdest thing. I mean, I would do it even in yoga. I was doing a lot of yoga at the time, Shavasana. I was in Shavasana. My head just wanted to turn. And also in Shavasana, this particular teacher used to ask us to imagine our bodies very clean and white. And I couldn't imagine my left leg and my left arm completely white. It was kind of like grayish. And this was maybe 6 months after he passed away or 9 months after he passed away. I did a sacred geometry healing completely by chance. And the guy also did muscle testing. And it turned out that, part of the energy of my brother was in me in my left side. And I still didn't put 2 and 2 together with the head. And, he did a clearing. And I remember leaving that session feeling so light. I mean, literally, I thought there was no gravity on earth. And then I didn't move my head ever again to the right. And then only later I was like, oh, I was carrying this energy that wasn't mine, that was my brother's. And, he went to explain, a bunch of things around that. But it's really interesting. And people don't think, I think, consciously that they might be carrying other people's energies and that might be acting because of not their own energies. So how does somebody notice that? And if you do notice something like that, or that's not like me, like what should we do to clear that energy?
Well, the way I work with my students is that they connect to their spirit team. So when they would notice they feel off balance, they would probably test themselves to say, okay, is there any interference? Has anybody hooked or corded into me? Or have I taken on any entities or other sort of energy parasites? And then they would just ask their teams to completely cleanse that and clear them. That's how I would do it, or that's how I would teach.
So, Dominique, would you say that you have like a preferred client that sees the most change when they see you? And who would that client be?
Everybody transforms according to what they're willing to allow. So I've worked with a couple of clients who had infertility and then now have children, so that's always like a great kind of real world tangible result.
Yeah.
And so it's about an openness, really. And people who are comfortable with energy, if this is completely new to them, it may be a little bit of a leap and they might be resisting it. And if they're
Yeah.
resisting it, it's harder work for me and they're likely to get less results. Whereas if they're just open, even if they don't really understand it, but if they're just really open, their energy system is going to allow for the release of the old energy imprints to go and to bring in new. We reconfigure their energy matrix to align to the person they want to be or the life they want to live.
Mm.
And that is always a lot of fun. So, it does vary. Everybody's different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do hear that a lot, that clients need to be ready to accept it and be open to it. And then they will see more transformation. And is there somebody you love to work with, a particular kind of client that's just you enjoy working with, or not really?
Yeah, I have some cosmic clients who are just really very multidimensional. And somehow, usually I work with I have all these books where I've channeled all these different processes. And I test and see what process do. We do this clearing, this restructuring, and then we go on to the next. But sometimes these clients are so multidimensional that I just go off into a space where it's just like, no, I'm working off book. And I'm just kind of going in there and I'm exploring and going into galactic lives. And we're finding some galactic trauma that needs to be healed. And then this is the reason why they are neurodivergent or, whatever it is. And then some deep restructuring happens. That kind of stretches me a lot as a practitioner. And that is
Yeah.
because clients' consciousness was more expansive. So when I went
Mm.
in there, I can be more expansive.
Yeah.
When I'm with
Yeah.
somebody who's kind of more close, it's a little bit more pedantic for me. Not as much fun. I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything new. I'm not stretching myself.
And those sessions, is that like a dialogue, or are they lying down and you're kind of doing healing on them, or is it a conversation?
Yeah, they will tell me what's going on. And at a certain point, I'll get a sense like, okay, I have enough information. And then I'll go in. And then suddenly I'm going in and I'm just like, okay, I'm seeing things. And I'm like, okay, this was a galactic life where your planet blew up and you're holding this trauma. This kind of shocked your system and your system has not repaired itself. And this is why. So then we need to do some repair work. I do a lot of repair work, like trauma. So right there, that was quite a big example. But trauma, even in a just normal level trauma in a life, whether you've been through some kind of abuse or the trauma of your parents divorcing or parents' death or losing a job or a breakup, all of these traumas can often make tears in your energy field. And your energy field is made up of these fields of consciousness. So there's a field of consciousness for your home. There's a field of consciousness for your money, for your health, for your beauty, for your rejuvenation, for your love life. Everything groups itself in fields of consciousness. And when trauma happens, it creates tears in these fields of consciousness, and that field of consciousness will lose energy. So, for example, with your health, if that particular trauma has created a tear in the field of consciousness that creates your health, then the vital force that is there to generate health for you, you're losing it, like a bicycle tire loses energy, right? Suddenly you have less vital force to create your health. So then you have health issues. And then you might be
Yeah.
doing all sorts of healing. But if the energy field is not repaired, you can do all sorts. You can do medical stuff. You can do all sorts of healing. But if that field is not repaired, you will never have the vital force needed to regenerate your health. So do a lot of repair work on the energy body,
Yeah.
realigning it, clearing limiting identities. It's very technical, actually.
Mm. It is so interesting. And I'm always fascinated to speak to energy healers because I would say the most of the world would agree that everything is energy and that it starts from an energetic standpoint. And then well, I don't know if everybody would agree, but this is what we understand, right? It starts first as energy and then it develops into something physical. And we have spent, hundreds of years trying to figure out the physical and trying to fix it and, medicine and all kinds of interventions while we're kind of missing the point. Well, we're wasting our time when we could go to the source. And that's why I think it's an exciting time because as we start understanding this and science, let's say, catches up to the spiritual truths, then we could be so much more efficient when it comes to all kinds of well-being. And this is why I'm also very passionate about Orykl, is just bringing more of this into the world, getting people to understand it, getting people to experience it, seeing results. And yeah, like I still feel like we're very, very much at the beginning of everything. And you, for example, are one of the people that are really pushing the boundaries to what exists there, what's possible. I really wish we had some science so that we could really explain it in a much more linear way as human beings want things to be, explained to them. But that's why I think it will come down to personal experience, right? When people actually go through the process and experience it themselves, that'll be the proof that they need. If it works for you, it works for you.
And maybe some forward-thinking scientists will do scientific work. So I know that Lynn McTaggart,
She's amazing.
yeah, she works a lot with science, like universities
Yes.
and so on. And there's a great YouTube about Greg Braden that he put up. And it's from a hospital in China called the Medicineless Hospital. And so there's this patient who had some big tumor, and they put the patient on the table with a camera that films the tumor, whatever it is that sort of films what's going on inside the body.
MRI.
And there are 6 practitioners. They're repeating something. They're going, it's done, or it's healed, it's healed, it's healed, it's healed. And they do that for 3 minutes. And you see it on the scanner, that it's getting smaller, 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 smaller. And within
Wow.
3 minutes, the whole thing just disappears.
That's incredible. I love that. I love that. I'm going to find that one. Yeah, that's the kind of thing, that we want to see. And also, seeing is believing for human beings. And so, yeah, lovely. So what would you say is your mission on Earth?
But it's really just to teach people how to use their consciousness. How to explore their consciousness and really kind of take control of their lives in a way, understand how to read their lives energetically. So this is going on, but what's really going on? So if they can learn to interpret it energetically and then use their consciousness to go, well, now that I've kind of diagnosed the situation, I have the power to shift this. So this old story that I'm reliving, I've tuned in and I've seen that this is an ancestral story that is replaying. So now I'm going to gather up that consciousness and I'm going to delete it.
Yeah.
Computers are a metaphor for consciousness. All the functions of a computer, like uploading and downloading and transposing and all of that stuff, is all we've created it because we can do it with our consciousness. Otherwise, how would we even make it up? It's just the physical expression of what can be done with the mind and consciousness.
Yeah. And last question, since you touched on that, what is your view on AI? Are you using it? Are you scared? Are you hopeful? Is it just a tool? How do you feel about it?
I'm not using it at the moment. I've kind of not wanted to get into that domain. I mean, I do notice that on YouTube, you'll click on a thing, and then before you know it, it's, oh, this is an AI produced thing. I don't want to be fed information by AI. But whether it's a tool that we can use to kind of speed up our work and stuff, no doubt it will go in that way. I was listening to somebody who said that they imagine that some young programmers are going to start to program AI to function more at the level of the heart. Like right now, it's just mechanistic, right? So it could lead us down some not very healthy pathways. But if you could bring some higher values into it, maybe it could be more beneficial. I believe that more interesting than AI is human consciousness.
For sure. Well, thanks, Dominique. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Some parting thoughts for the listeners? Anything to take away?
I mean, I would just really say just trust your inner guidance and just tune into yourself, tune into your heart if ever you need to. Understand something. Your heart holds all the information, all the wisdom, and the healing power that you need. So just by tuning into your heart and saying, what's the way through this? And how can I heal it? And asking your heart to heal it for you is already a huge technology just right there. And it's just as simple as that. So we have so much power within us and play with it, you know?
We do. We do. Well, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, for bringing this amazing information, for healing people, for teaching people, for being part of Orykl. And yeah, I appreciate it. And I think it's beautiful to see people doing something that they clearly came here to do. You know, I feel like you're following your purpose, and that's beautiful.
And also thank you for creating Orykl because it's a huge visionary project bringing together some really high frequency people. So it's an incredible resource for humanity.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll chat with you soon.
Okay, honey. Thank you.